This video serves as a recap of Chainsaw Man Part 1, the public safety arc by Tatsuki Fujimoto, from the eyes of our four main characters. Through their experiences, we revisit these emotions that we felt while reading weekly to better understand this section of the story in its entirety. Dreams are an essential part of who we are as human beings. What does it mean to have a dream, a goal, a passion? We are asked this sort of question at a fairly young age in the form of, what do you want to be when you grow up? Most people come up with either really basic answers like a teacher or a doctor since they're just kids, but when the innocence of the question and subsequent answer is ripped away by circumstances outside of the child's control, what happens when trauma is injected into that dream or that wish? Denji goes through a progression of creating his dreams as he grows physically, emotionally, and mentally in the public safety part of Chainsaw Man. Diving into Denji's dreams, we learn that he never believed that someone like him could have a normal life. All his goals and aspirations were tied to doing the things that people his age should do, not able to even have the time to dream properly as Denji lives day by day, fighting just to stay alive. He has very shallow but essential passions, such as spreading some jam on bread, going to school, flirting with a girl, and playing video games. Although this seems both innocent and bizarre at first, we learn throughout our story just how different Denji's circumstances are and how desperate he is for that sense of normalcy. His lifestyle at the beginning of the story is normalized after his father's death. Denji finally gets a chance to live as most of his dreams are satisfied by Makima's introduction. Although his may be considered shallow by others, as long as he's willing to fight for it, it can become a reality. When he was allowed to spread as much jam as he desires, Denji understood that the sky's the limit. Putting his dreams against others is what gives him validation in this world. The dream battle against the Leech Devil or facing eternity just for a French kiss is all it really takes to get Denji motivated for any cause. His initial dream battle against the Yakuza created the Katana Man incident. As the revenge cycle is reversed from Aki's driving force, Katana actually pairs up with the Gun Devil to show Denji exactly why he doesn't deserve the life he has currently. Denji can't tell good flavors from bad ones, and Denji is constantly reminded of this as no matter what happens or how badly the women in his life hurt him, he still loves them wholeheartedly. Expectation for success builds up the longer it takes to achieve it. This occurs with Denji time and time again as he reaches each new milestone, from touching some boobs to kissing a girl to experiencing school for the first time. It's only natural that people don't get exactly what they wish for, but Denji doesn't know better because he's never gotten what he wanted. Makima creates this artificial environment of peace and growth, but the cracks show what a hellish journey Denji has ahead of him. She shows him a new perspective every time so that he can make the best out of every outcome in life. But since she's the one controlling his normalcy, she has the answers to the highs and lows generated with the bite, the chupla candy, movies, and even the basic character relationships that Denji has. Denji is willing to give up on his own dreams when he recognizes that there are people he deeply cares for and cherishes. The idea of running away is brought up really early, within the first two chapters, with the girl pretending to be friends with the devil, but it isn't hit home until the Bomb Devil arc with Rez. Denji is someone who acts on his innate impulses because that's just how he had to live. Even him, Denji actually turns down Rez for something as simple as the sense of fulfillment. Others holding him accountable as he completes duties both at work and at home, which is all he needs for happiness. When everything that he wished for, such as good food and playing video games, turns sour and doesn't give him the same joy that it did after Aki's death, Denji is willing to let it all go, just so he doesn't have to be responsible for the guilt of his actions. Makima takes control of everything for him so he can watch in horror with his own eyes. Back to reality and back to the normal world. Denji spends chapters upon chapters as the Chainsaw Man in a bloody brawl against Makima as he loses all control of himself. It isn't until power gives him a new goal to find her in hell that he gains a new purpose in life. Up until this point, Denji believed that he has lived enough, so it's okay for him to die. Living full of debt with Pochita at the beginning of the story was actually more than enough, and he shouldn't be overreaching and asking for more. He should have been happy with what he had. That's because Denji believes that he's living in this fantasy. But Kobani actually states that all along he's been as normal as everyone else. Life isn't supposed to be a dream at all, as both suffering and happiness are equally valid in reality. He forms his new dream based on his experience so far in the story, as now he wants steak every day, have lots of sex, and wants to be Chainsaw Man, not for someone else, but for himself. Living under his own rules, such as saving girls, killing devils as a hobby, and getting an education like he always wanted, not something that was forced upon him. With Naota added to his life, he realizes that he doesn't just live for himself and Pochita anymore, but also for Aki, for power, Himeno, and Makima, carrying their burdens and dreams forward with him.
Aristotle's Poetics is a document in literary history that sheds light on the origins of human philosophy and art. It is said that it consists mainly of student lecture notes around 330 BCE. In these works are writings on the makings of a proper tragedy, a genre of stage play. In these elements of tragedy, there are many parallels to Aki's story. Aristotle surmises that tragedy is not born from the characters, it is best derived from the plot for maximum effectiveness. For Aki, his story begins as the lone survivor of his family from the mass attack by the Gun Devil. Bullets rain on his childhood home, killing his parents. Even worse, Aki told his little brother to go back into the house for his gloves for playing in the snow. Aki later becomes a devil hunter that is obsessed with revenge on the Gun Devil. As a devil hunter, he has buried many partners, the most painful of which being Himeno, who was his first partner and mentor. She died protecting him in the end. Unbeknownst to Aki, Makima also uses him to act as Denji's caretaker and devil hunter partner. In doing so, they form familial bonds along with power. When Makima is nearing her endgame, she turns Aki into the very thing that he hates, having Aki become a Gun Devil fiend who destroys the city indiscriminately and killing innocent people like his own family was in this the ultimate nightmare. Even the future devil found this ending to be extraordinarily perverse. Aki is portrayed as a model employee of public safety. Shortly before he dies, a nurse actually refers to him as the #1 devil hunter. But who is the real Aki? Aristotle states that the character should change in relation with each dramatic event that has shaped his life. Arrogant, immature, and careless is how he is portrayed in his flashback. This is a result of his family being destroyed by a devil. Responsible, strong, and passionate are all qualities we see at his introduction. This is a result of Himeno's mentoring and time as a top public safety agent. Guilt, obsession, and ultimately fearful is how he ended up. This is the result of Himeno's sacrifice and familial bonds that were created with Denji and power. The fundamental character arc that Aki progresses through is the revenge-obsessed soldier hell-bent on destroying the Gun Devil. Makima has provided Denji an environment to be happy, so she could crush him later on, but in doing so she has also given the same benefit to Aki. Aki has learned to love his companions, and he makes the ultimate personal sacrifice to see them live. He at first tries to leave the Gun Devil mission, but later on also makes a contract with Makima, which leads to his destruction at Denji's hands. The decisions Aki makes throughout the story is how Aristotle believes how the audience engages with the character. As we understand the decision-making process, we understand the consequences of them that much more emphatically. Manga is a medium with no sound, and so this facet of a stage play does not translate. However, there is a critical scene where sound is masterfully used, where the audience can almost hear the words coming off the page. When Aki is turned into a Gun Devil fiend, he rings the bell to his own home repeatedly. This is all set with Makima calling Denji and updating him on the situation. The artwork for the sound effects in this chapter has an incredible feeling of uneasiness and foreboding anxiety. Aristotle notes the climax of the tragedy can be brought about in a remarkable manner to drive home the anguish of the characters. In Aki's flashback, we see how his family was destroyed after playing in the snow with his brother. This is called back in the abstract cutscenes interspersed between the actual Denji and a key fight. The juxtaposition between the metaphor and the reality culminates when Aki seamlessly transitions to the afterlife, where he is reunited with his family.
Power holds a huge presence in the story as Denji's little sister, the hater of all humans, and dialogue full of hyperboles. From her over 9,000 level IQ to her dream of becoming the prime minister just to rule over some puny humans, Power makes big splashes every time she appears, even if she doesn't flush it afterwards. Foolish little humans could not understand the gravity and idle status that Power had back in Hell. This embellished facade is something she keeps up with for the entirety of Part 1. It stems from her loneliness of where she was all dirty in the countryside. Feared and revered caused Power to lash out first as a form of protection, but Meowie was the first that she found comfort in. Denji only related and chose to save Power in the beginning of her story because he understood what it means to not have someone you care about around you anymore. Her love for blood was based on death, as the warm blood from her prey would soon turn cold. Meowie made her realize warm blood is the flow of life, and through being a family made her feel more content. Power's dynamic with Denji evolved from childish bickering to an intimate connection of familial love. She is one to speak her mind openly, as she is very immature, unloyal, and emotionally disconnected. However, her ridiculous antics are usually the driving force for the narrative and for Denji. Power casually talks about inventing something for a Nobel Prize just so that she can impose a 100% consumption tax on humans, but this actually sparks the urge in Denji to create his perpetual motion machine to give him the ability to take on the Eternity Devil forever if needed. These traits are explored in the latter stretch of the story with Power's return to show how she has matured over time and became the antithesis of what she was when the story began, willing to break her motto that every life is trivial just for the sake of Denji, her friend, her first friend that she cares about. Her and Denji's apprenticeship showed us just how well that they can actually work together when tasked for a simple goal such as getting their happy daily routine back from the terrible Kishibe. But Power has this sort of dynamic with a lot of other characters as well, such as making the meal with her secret ingredients for Aki when he was at his lowest, and hijacking Kobani's car to accidentally kill one of the assassins by running that person over. Whenever Power makes a move, whether intentional or not, she consistently pushes the story forward, which seems more chaotic but skillfully controlled because of Makima's strings. The aftermath of the Darkness arc is where Power reverts into her shell completely. She becomes instilled with a fear so great that even the hint of a place without light balls her up, unable to do anything. All of her luster and false glamour are stripped away from her, leaving behind such an empty husk. Denji is even willing to give up on a trip with Makima just to take care of her, something that he couldn't have fathomed doing when they first met. Someone was able to cause such a strong change in desire, similar to when Aki wanted to pull out of the Gun Devil operation for the sake of Denji and Power. That kind of love takes priority over a dream, and it is this dynamic that allows Denji to push forward with his life, going into Part 2 for the sake of Power, wherever she is at the end of our story.
The making of a movie comes in stages. Every production requires a sequence of events to happen before moving on to the next step. For a truly exceptional final product to be created, an equally exceptional production can be expected to deliver said results. Makima is a director with an extraordinary vision. She knew what she wanted and manipulated her masterpiece into being. In the very first chapter, it is revealed that Denji found Pochita at a near-death state and subsequently made a contract so both could survive. Makima finally finds them after the encounter with the zombie devil. What we should note here is she was actually in a position of leadership from the very first panel. It's unclear what her exact position in public safety is, but it appears she is making decisions deciding Denji's immediate fate from the start. Movie studios are the infrastructure upon where filmmaking is built on top of, and so is public safety for Makima. It provides her financial resources, access to devils, and an international data network, as well as manpower. If Denji is an actor, Makima is the director. Then devil hunting is the stage on which the movie is being filmed upon. One of her very first decisions with Denji is to make Aki his buddy for the day. By the time Denji and Aki come back from their disastrous first patrol, Makima had her script written. Aki is cast to be Denji's big brother. Makima is aware of how Aki is emotionally broken and yearns for family himself. It's a perfect casting to bring out the best performance from both actors. Aki teaches Denji how to be a human who can function in society. With every meal he consumes and every night he sleeps with a roof over his head, the script moves forward. Not long after Denji becomes accustomed to his newfound life, Makima introduces power to the story. Just as Aki is responsible for Denji as his big brother, Denji becomes responsible for Power in the same way. Power is a bratty little sister who completes Denji's family structure. When Denji wakes up in the morning, he has a purpose and relationships to uphold. Relationships will be what Makima is using to control Denji. It should be added that Miaoi exists as the lowest part of the familiar structure so that Power can have something to protect in her own right. The Gun Devil is a lie. It is a lie used to motivate her actors. She used an existing boogeyman that society has been traumatized by to fuel the performances of Aki and Denji. Makima has been grooming Aki ever since he enlisted in public safety and uses his emotional instability to further her goals. He has been a wild card from the start, but she has turned him to be somebody who can be reliable enough to foster her most valuable asset, Denji. Living in poverty, selling his organs to survive, under the thumb of the Yakuza for his father's debt, has caused Denji to be satisfied with living a menial life. As a teenage boy, however, there is still an itch that needs to be scratched. Makima uses his attraction to her as a reward for defeating the Gun Devil. Coupled with the concept that he and Power will be hunted as devils if they are not working as devil hunters themselves, this is a powerful motivation. An actor can have fire in their heart after reading the script, but the performances need to translate to the audience through the big screen. Searching for the Gun Devil's fragments provides the backdrop to some incredible scenes. The Endless Eight. Denji fights for 3 days straight, making a devil submit through pain, and earns a French kiss at the end he will never forget. This is a horror movie. The Katana Devil. Denji is unleashed in the city after training with Kishibe against the capable devil and defeats him with his brain as well as his power. This is an action movie. Rez. Denji and a top-tier devil fall in love with each other and destruction ensues. This is a love story. You can say these three arcs were Makima's trilogy of movies, providing Denji with an impressive resume before winning his Oscar, which was surviving the assassins, literally going to hell, and defeating a legendary S-Class devil, powered up by a contract with the Darkness Devil. At this stage in Makima's production, she has completed all her tasks she needs to assemble the final cut. When Denji turns Makima down for a weekend getaway, it is confirmation that Denji has indeed accepted Aki and Power as his family. Aki protects both his charges by asking out of the Gun Devil mission, despite that being his reason for living, and this is how he shows his bonds towards them. Power, who was introduced as an incredibly selfish oaf living happily by herself in the forest, has now turned into someone who is a domesticated and dependent person who gives herself to both Aki and Denji. Power insisting Denji drink her blood is an incredible metaphor to show the intimacy of their relationship that transcends sexual desire. With these familial bonds confirmed, Makima is ready to make her move and complete the final cut. The Gun Devil was an opportunistic device for Makima to capitalize on, and she uses it one final time to get rid of Aki and break Denji emotionally. Having Denji open the door for Makima to kill her is the climax to her masterpiece. The final stage of filmmaking is the premiere. Once it is being consumed by the audience, there is nothing left but to manage everything around it. With Denji's foundation destroyed, Makima reveals her true intentions and moves into her endgame. She circumvents the contract Denji has made with Pochita and now has some control over the human part of the Chainsaw Devil. Public safety seeks to assassinate her, and she uses Chainsaw Man to protect her. After dealing with them, she seeks to fulfill her ultimate goal by enticing the Chainsaw Devil to eat her through battle. The ultimate reveal is, of course, as epic as can be found in classical literature. Makima is eaten as she wanted, but by her own creation instead of her infatuation, which is one and the same.
Tatsuki Fujimoto has crafted an intense, neurotic, and subversive manga that we'll be following for years to come. Thank you so much for staying with us to the end of this video for our unique take on recapping part 1 of many parts of Chainsaw Man. If you enjoyed this video, please feel free to drop a like and subscribe, as this channel will serve as a home for reviews and discussions of every chapter for part 2 as it releases. Our current format, as of this recording, is to have 2 videos per chapter. The first is an informal impressions video up when the chapter drops to give our immediate thought, and the latter is a formal breakdown video later on in the week to comb through all the little details and panels and information dropped to speculate for the coming story. If you are interested in either format, this is the place for you. See you all next time.